Hey everybody, Eric Smith here, Race Review Online, courtesy of the Prime Sports Network. Going to talk about IndyCar again. We're back. It wasn't as long of a wait as last time, so we don't need to recap the previous because it was only a couple weeks ago. So this weekend, jumping into the shores of Long Beach, the Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach to be exact, 3 o'clock Sunday, NBC, IndyCar Radio Network is where to find it. Green flag shortly after 3:30 Eastern. This race, it's one of the most prestigious races on the calendar. This will be the 39th year that the NTT IndyCar Series has been going to the streets of Long Beach. It's the second longest running race on the schedule behind Indy. Hence, all the drivers have been talking about this being the crown jewel, the big one to win, the one that kind of separates you from the field. Street course races, as you know, are hard to win. This race has only seen, I think it's 5 drivers have won this thing more than 2 times. So it tells you kind of the fraternity that you're in by being a winner here. Not many people can say they've won multiple times. So it's one that garners a lot of attention naturally because of this. So IndyCar will be forefront. I don't like it that it's going against NASCAR at the same time. Granted, that's not IndyCar's fault, this one, because they are on West Coast, so they have to start later. So be sure, before we get deeper into this, follow Prime Sports Network, subscribe to the station. Follow them on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter at Eric_Race_Review. We bring all the coverage of racing. They have Prime Sports Network has golf, basketball, baseball, football, NFL draft coming up. Anything you can see, or anything you want to know, anything you want to see on these preview videos, be sure to give them a like, subscribe, follow. You'll get everything you need to know. With the Derby coming up too, another race next month. Full extensive coverage in that aspect. So be sure to tune in. In regards to IndyCar, like I said, Long Beach, great atmosphere. Because it's so obvious, it's not one of the 5 things I'm watching, which that's like last week or 2 weeks ago, we'll start into the 5 things I'm watching. This week, the first thing, Andretti Autosport. What a weird season it's been for them. Strong and thermal in their test. Strong and Sebring in their test. Go to St. Pete, season opener. They had 3 cars in the Fast 6. Romain Grosjean on the pole. Looked like they were raced to lose. Well, they lost it, just as they have in a lot of times in the past. For some reason, Andretti looks good in practices and even qualifying, but they don't deliver on the race. Michael Andretti even said, going into that race week, or the race day, this was Saturday after Romain Grosjean won the pole in St. Pete. For me, I feel a lot more optimistic. I think we've really studied ourselves and got real honest with ourselves where we need to improve. I think we've done it. Obviously, the race is going to be another thing. Hopefully, we can all have all 4 cars go through the race without making a mistake. If that happens, I think, meaning that they don't make a mistake, I think we have a great shot of winning. And he went on to say that he feels like they kind of shot themselves in the foot over the years with strategy plays and wrecks, and anything that could go wrong has gone wrong. Well, here we are 2 races in, they're shut out. Out of the 8 cars, 4, obviously the 4 drivers in the team, 2 races, that's 8 cars, 7 of them have wrecked. And it just goes to show they cannot put a full race together. That's why they enter this weekend 11th, 17th, 20th, and 28th in points after 2 races. And it's just not good for the speed that they have. That's why I'm watching them at Long Beach. Is they've shown to be the top team in Long Beach over the years. They've been extremely quick. Colton Herta, even when he didn't make the top 12, he was eliminated in the first round of qualifying on a street course race just 2 years ago. He still won. He looked really good at St. Pete before. So can he put a race together? He broke the track record on the pole last year. He was 6th and 2nd in the 2 practice sessions. He, unfortunately, strategy took him out of the lead last year. He led the entire first stint. He had a slow in lap, and a little hiccup on his pit stop took him from 1st to 3rd. So the next stint, he was pushing harder to get on pit road better to close that gap. He wrecked out of the race. Rossi, 2nd and 4th in practice last year. Granted, he's with a new team. The only reason I'm tying him and Andretti here because he's real for him last year. Qualified 5th. Grosjean, quickest in practice Saturday morning. He was 2nd before crashing the Fast 6, which cost him his top 2 laps. So he started 6th. Nevertheless, 5th and 6th, Rossi and Grosjean last year. And so again, 3 cars in the Fast 6. See a theme here? Rossi held up on his first stint and had a slower stop. Doesn't even get a top 5. Grosjean, he was 2nd, so he ran well. Remember, Grosjean wrecked with McLaughlin after the final pit stop in St. Pete last week, or 2 weeks ago, wrecked in St. Pete or Texas while running the top 5. Does he win this weekend? That's why I'm watching him. I'm watching Colton Herta. Can he make up that ground? Kyle Kirkwood, he's been really fast, but he's been finding troubles. Does he put it all together this weekend? We saw what Rossi can do in that car in the past. He led 71 laps and 80 laps, respectively, in 2 years in dominant wins. Can Kirkwood show that this weekend? And Devlin DeFrancesco, he's been better this year, but again, he's found incidents. So Andretti is, can they put a whole race together? That's the thing why I'm watching them. The next point I'm watching, Rossi. Kind of hinted about him earlier. Talked to him this week. A lot of videos up here. But with Rossi's standpoint, he's with a new team. He's out of that Andretti drama and the bad luck. He finished 4th in the season opener on the streets of St. Pete. His teammate, Pato O'Ward, should have won St. Pete. So McLaren, do they have a good package on street courses? It didn't used to, but now they seem like they have. I asked Rossi about that the other day. And this was his answer on the differences between driving a Honda on a street course and a Chevrolet on a street course. Also, he won by 20 seconds a few years ago. So if you take what he says as Chevrolet having a very good street course package, does that old Rossi show up? So that's why one thing I'm watching is him. Does he top the Andretti's, his former team, with this package, with McLaren? Can he get a win early on? That would be a big story, so he's another guy I'm watching. The next thing, tires. Talked about it at St. Pete, talking about it again. It looks like the new green sidewall tires were going to have more fall off, which is going to turn the strategy kind of around for what it has been in the past. Because at St. Pete, it was always, hey, just fall off on these reds. They weren't as big. It was kind of the primary tire that they can use. And going into the season opener, we thought, well, maybe the blacks are going to make a run for the money. Maybe those are going to be, and the blacks, I mean the primary tire, the factor to go with. Practice kind of showed that. Race day didn't change much. It would kind of look like the race of the years past. So does that tire change this weekend? It's a different kind of street course. It's a little more bumpier than what St. Pete was. Rossi kind of mentioned in his call that St. Pete's kind of come more like a natural road course. They've kind of repaved some areas, some patchwork. Long Beach is, other than a surface kind of change, a few areas, it runs more like a typical street course. So does the tire change this weekend? The next point, sophomore drivers. They sit pretty good. David Malukas, 6th in points, 2 top 10s this year. Callum Ilott, 1 spot behind him in points, 5th in St. Pete, 9th in Texas. They're getting close to that breakout victory. Christian Lundgaard, 9th in St. Pete. He had a top 10 in Nashville too. Then I talked about Kirkwood and what he can do. Quick in St. Pete, fast 6. He's got that ride that Rossi has. So I'm watching those 4 sophomore drivers this weekend. Do they get a breakout win in a prestigious race? They've all got great chances of doing so. So they're watching that, which leads me into my 5th and final point, is points. Just that. These guys look good in the points right now, Malukas and Ilott particularly. Kirkwood's got some work to do naturally, but we've seen Andretti, they give him good cars. Can they just put it all together? And he could go on a run and re-enter this championship conversation. However, this is where I note, Pato O'Ward is only 7 points up on Marcus Ericsson. Dixon and Newgarden trail 15 and 16 points respectively. Palou, he runs out the top 5. He's only 22 points back. Now, what I'm talking about this is with them, between Dixon, Newgarden, and Palou, they've won 5 of the last 6 series championships, and they're already in the top 5 now. That should be scary for the rest of the field is, well, somehow now you got to get by them. They're ahead of you. Not only do you have to catch them, you got to get by them. Award, points leader, runner-up in St. Pete. 3 of Ericsson's 4 race wins, when all by the way, he won the season opener on a street course, have been on just that, street courses. Newgarden, 3 straight top 2 finishes in St. Pete. Dixon, 5 top 4 finishes in his last 7 Long Beach tries. So, if he was that close last year, been that close before, what happens? Do those guys continue? Because then you got Barber coming up, who they also have been strong at. For the last 5 races there, these drivers that I just talked about have won at. Award's last 2 finishes there, 4th and 1st. Palou, 1 in 2021, runner-up in 2022. Ericsson, 2 top 10s and 3 tries. Newgarden, 5 top 4s in his last 7. Dixon, 9 podiums, 10 top 5s, and 12 starts, including 6 runner-ups. Then we come to Indy for the month of May. When you got double points around the 500. Pato, we saw what he can do on a super speedway. Ericsson won there last year. Granted, he had the road course race before you get to those double points, but if these guys are already, like I keep saying, in the top 5 in points, what are they going to do after Indy in a month, a little over a month from now. Where are they going to sit? Because you got to catch them and pass them. So they really could be putting a statement to this field already, which is why I'm watching them this weekend to see if the gap widens. The next thing we'll talk about is some trends. 6 of the past 7 Long Beach race winners start on the top 2 rows. Colton Hurd is the outlier, 14th in 2021, but he had a car better than where he started. 3 of the last 5 street course races, or 3 of the 5 last year, they were won from a front row starting spot. St. Pete this year was won from the second row, 4th place, which means 6 of the last 7 years of this race are won from a top 4 starter, including 3 of the last 4 from the front row. What's that mean? Probably your winner is going to be dictated in qualifying on Saturday. That you got to make the final round if you want to give yourself a shot. 6 different teams have won the last 9 races in St. Pete. Also, the series champion, so the eventual during this season of running St. Pete, they finished on the podium in 5 of the last 8 years. They were 4th in each of the last 2 seasons at that. Furthermore, 19 of the 24 podium spots in this span were taken by a driver that would finish the top 6 with points in that respective season. Translation, got to qualify up front. You qualify up front, you're probably going to have a chance to win, and usually the race winner or drivers that finish on the podium usually are in the championship race later in the season. So massive, massive, massive attention that's going to be put on this race, which is why qualifying is so important this weekend. Your race winner and your really podium is going to be right there in the Fast Six. So you definitely want to watch them. Some of the teams to watch, I know this is kind of going to lead us into our favorites, but the top drivers, 2019 had 17 races on these tracks, 9 different winners. Newgarden's got 4 wins, Dixon has 3 wins, Ericsson has 3 wins, Herta has 2 wins. So the only multi-time winners with 2 of Newgarden's 4 wins coming at St. Pete, actually. Granted, this is a different track, but street course is a street course. The big teams, Penske's won 7 of the last 17 races. Ganassi's won 5, Andretti's won 3. McLaren's the only other team that have won in this span. So that tells you the big teams are probably going to be the one in the hunt to win this race in the end. So if you kind of find some guys, those big teams in the Fast Six, might want to be who you bet on. Granted, the odds, for some reason, they're not out yet. It's Thursday morning, but if you see them over the weekend, snag those big drivers on the big teams that are starting the Fast Six. If you got them outside, granted, because there's only 6 spots in the Fast Six, so not all of them are going to be made up by that. So just figure the drivers out. And honestly, the Andretti guys, it'd be hard to grab them, but you might want to fade them. Which leads the end of the qualifying. Just to note, some notes here. Since 2018, these are the starting spots of the podium finishers. 18 was 1st, 2nd, and 13th. 19, 1st, 4th, 2nd. 21, 14th, 1st, 2nd. Last year, 2nd, 6th, and 3rd. That's why I mean that you probably want to snag a guy that's starting in the Fast Six. 6 of the last 7 years of this race, as I mentioned before, I'll say it again, the top 4 starters won. 10 of the 12 podium spots in this span were from a Fast Six starter. So you can also bet podium and top 5 finish if you can find them. So snag these people after qualifying on Saturday. A couple of the favorites kind of hit on Newgarden. As I said, 3 straight top 2 finishes, coming off of a win. Why not? Herta, 43 of 85 laps is what he led from his 14th place starting spot in his 2021 win. He led 97 100 laps in the 2021 season opener at St. Pete. Granted, he didn't look great. He's probably 3 out of 4 of the Andretti drivers in St. Pete this year. But he's so good at Long Beach. Had the pole last year, just made the mistake. Herta doesn't make many mistakes a second time around, so I'd watch out for him. And Pelot used to say that these were his worst tracks, but he's had 3 podiums and 5 top 6s in his last 5 street course races, including a runner-up and a 3rd place finish here. Definitely watch him. Dixon, he just seems like Mr. Reliable. Probably a top 5 guy. However, he was on the podium at St. Pete, so you got to watch him. And he won Toronto and Nashville last year, so he's definitely a guy I'd look at. Willpower, only if he makes the Fast Six. 2 wins, 3 run-up finishes at Long Beach, including 4 top 7s in his last 6 there. He finished 4th last year. However, his qualifying, for some reason, being the pole master, is taking a bit of a dip. So definitely somebody you're going to want to wait till this weekend to see where he is, because if he's not in the Fast Six, I wouldn't pick him to win this race. Scott McLaughlin, 14th last year here, but he also won St. Pete. Trying to get some momentum back, but he's another one I'd wait for qualifying, because if him and Power are not in the Fast Six, punt on those both, go with Newgarden as far as the Penske camp. Pato, second in the last 2 weeks, should have won St. Pete, or last 2 races, not 2 weeks, last 2 races. And he won Belle Isle. He's the points leader for a reason. If he can get a good number his way, snag him. Rossi we talked about, Erickson we talked about, those are sleepers. Grosjean I'd snag as a sleeper. Kirkwood for sure. Malukas, we kind of mentioned him. He was top 10 in St. Pete. He was top 5 at Texas. Definitely look his direction. So those are some guys that I would probably take a look at. Wait till you get the odds because we don't have them out yet on a Thursday. But after qualifying is really going to be the time when you probably want to snag some of these guys because, as I said, top 6 is the way to go if you can find them. Again, it's Eric Smith, Race View Online. Thanks for tuning in. Prime Sports Network. Follow them on YouTube too, Twitter. Subscribe. You'll get all these videos. We'll have the Indy 500 Open Test next week. Probably do a video from there. Also look at our NASCAR coverage. They're in Martinsville this weekend. Already have that post. We'll have a Chase Elliott reaction post here today at some point. So thank you for your time. Until we meet again. Thanks.